Hi, this is R.I.P. I am going to be doing this until I die or I find something better to do. So please help me achieve this personal and, I think, noble objective by contributing to my Patreon or Subscribe Star. Link is down below. Every little bit helps. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Red Pill Nation Hangout number 387. I am your host, Naroki5. Rierson might be jumping on. I sent him a call because it says he's actually on Skype at the moment, but we'll see whether he's jumping on. But I got two of my usual other wingmen with me tonight. Roger's gone to go get some coffee right now. So V, introduce yourself.
Well, you guys know me. I'm V, host of the Red Pill Hardcore Radio Show, which is on hiatus still. I mean, I might jump back into doing my show here within the next couple weeks, whatever. I gotta get the hell out of Wisconsin and back to Cali before I do. So that'll be about 2 or 3 weeks. But yeah, here in the country, so I can promote CLBTalk.com, Freedom of Speech Social Network. So for you people out there sick of Facebook, well, guess what? There are alternatives. I know other platforms say they're free speech, but they have their little tricks, you know. They'll shadow ban or just accidentally, lose your account, things like that. But no, that doesn't happen on TLBTalk.com. So you guys want to talk to me? Get there or be square. Okay, do we have Hanson back?
Roger, are you back yet?
Well, until he gets back, I'd like to say, it is absolutely ridiculous. I was suggesting that we talk about some other things. I try to steer away from Disney because I'm just not too involved with it. But it took me days to download because I wanted to catch up. I wanted to catch up with the Disney stuff. I downloaded Mandalorian, the new Mandalorian stuff. It took maybe like an hour or two to download. Obi-Wan took the better part of a day, and Ahsoka, I think that took like 2 or 3 days, and the Acolyte took 2 or 3 days to download. Well, 3 days.
Oh, well, the Acolyte stuff. The Acolyte is not particularly popular. So there's not a lot of people actually downloading it, I'm having to imagine.
When your stuff is not worth pirating, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, when we get to section 5, and yeah, unfortunately, there's no real way to, because I mean, it's Disney just is the gift that just keeps giving this year, and particularly the past month or so. Roger, are you back yet? Okay, Roger's not back. So for those of you who want to know, I am at Patreon as Naroki5. I only upload for ease of upload to other things. I am at YouTube. I am also at MGTOW TV, BitChute, Rumble, Odyssey, and Brighteon. I am also at Facebook, Minds, Gab, MeWe, Getter, and TLB Talk. Although it's been a while since I posted up anything at TLB. Group announcements. There is going to be a spat of stuff going up here this week because I have an extra week before I don't go out to work now till the end of the month, and I got one major task left to take care of in town before I do anything else. I am going to see what I can do about getting some of the podcast, like SoundCloud and Podbean and Spotify and so forth. Let's see what I can do about getting some of my stuff up at those places just to improve my exposure. And I mean that in the good way, not in the bad way. Rearson's the one. Rearson's the one with the gimp suits and stuff, and he's not here tonight, so we can get to shamelessly talk about him, and he's not a damn thing he can do about it. So I see Roger is back. So Roger, introduce yourself.
Took me a second to unmute that. Hello, I'm Roger Hansen. I do my own shows, WoW, or Wonderful World of Weirdness, on YouTube, Discord, Odyssey. I'm also on Minds.com if you guys want to check me out there. Besides that, I do a couple other ones, starting out with Live with Roger Hansen, which I'm doing right now, but that's just me. I do that on the same channels and stuff too, so you guys can check that out. Now, I have also got a channel called The Praetorian, which I've been working on, and it's on all those networks. I also have stuff on BitChute, like I said before, but I have no idea how the content is actually getting on there, because it's like magically starting to appear on there, and I have no idea how they're doing it or what when it started. But I do have an account on there if you want to check out some stuff. So with that, I'll pass, I guess. Is that good enough?
Yep, that's good enough. V has to switch out devices here, so it's just you and I for a couple minutes.
Okay.
So, hold on a second. Okay, so the topics for tonight. One that's a little bit personal to me, R.I.P. Spetsnaz MGTOW, and I will get into who Spetsnaz was, and he is a MGTOW content creator, and a significant one. Especially if you've been a MGTOW for over a decade like I've been. Topic number 2, John Deere gets caught supporting DEI and backs away from it when it gets caught. 3, the slow trickle of facts around the attempted assassination of Trump are revealing. I found the Wall Street angle really interesting. 4, right-wing cancel culture rears its head. Yeah, okay, I've got a mixed opinion on this, but I mentioned Destiny and Jack Black in particular, but there were others, and there were other lesser-known people involved as well that ended up. Yeah, we do need to talk about that, because cancel culture is cancel culture. It doesn't matter which side of the political aisle it's on. Topic number 5 is the Disney section. The Acolyte is finally over, and Disney immediately starts firing people as soon as the show was over. Like, as in, like, they're not needed anymore. Like, huge numbers of people who were involved in the Acolyte just basically got turfed. And of course, if that wasn't all, as if the Disney wasn't in bad enough trouble as it was, a bunch of Disney, actually a whole terabyte of Disney data got hacked by a group called Nullbulge, and that is also kind of like a mixed blessing. I'm going to put that in the same category as the right-wing cancel culture. And 6, and we're going to have probably for 389, I'm guessing, because we're going to have the spare parts episode here for 388. Now, I wrote these topics up on Sunday morning, and of course the question's been answered. So we're going to probably have a little bit of a topic 0 around this. We're going to have a little bit of a quick comment on it, but we're going to leave this till we actually get to next Sunday, and then we'll talk about it in a little bit more detail. When I wrote this, is Biden going to get replaced? Well, yes, he is. And with that, I will just add this in as a topic 0 tonight. And it'll be a very quick topic 0 because I don't want to have to get too much into this particular topic in depth tonight. So yeah, please no, because we do tend to get a little bit long-winded for issues, but we'll have a chance to do a more full detailed story about this for 389. So let's just keep this focused and laser. And I have this as topic 0, and of course topic 6 is Joe Biden going to get replaced? I suspect we're going to probably have with this, we're just going to talk about the events of today. At topic 6, we're going to talk about the things that led up to it. We knew this was coming. Joe Biden just absolutely atrociously bombed that debate. He also embarrassed himself at the most recent G7 summit. I look at Biden and I'm reminded of one of those old incontinent guys that should have been sitting in a nice sunny home, retired, resting and relaxing, and not running a country. And it has been clearly that way. And I mean, even from 2020, there's been a very clear incontinent medical decline. I don't feel sorry for the Democrats. This is not unexpected. At this point, Kamala Harris looks like she's going to be the replacement. But yeah, that's really all I'm going to say about it. No surprise here. Roger, quick comment on this one.
Well, with me, I mentioned it on your previous show about Biden and his actions in that debate. And for me, I think there's more to it than just, I've got this feeling that it's not about him being senile and freaking all that. I think he's just trying to play the simp act, because if you take a look at what happened with his son, okay, his son right now is going through federal hearings in Congress at the moment, and they're wanting information concerning a conversation that he had with his father with people in the Ukraine on his laptop, and they're really, really wanting that. Now, with Biden, freaking, he already knows that he's done for, you know what I mean? But the only way for him to get out of it, in my opinion, is he knows his son's done for too. He's on his way to prison. So in order for him to freaking be able to survive, his son's going to have to take the fall, and he's going to have to play the part of the senile old man so that he can get some sympathy, because once this information comes out, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. And another thing that crossed my mind with Kamala Harris is, this is another Gerald Ford, in my opinion. This is a way of sneaking a woman into the White House, is the way I see it. You know what I mean? They've been trying their best, the Democrats have, to get a woman into presidency for quite a while. And that's something that kind of sticks out to me. But I've also been hearing that other Democrats are freaking flocking to, that they're wanting a part of it. So there may be somebody else besides Kamala Harris. I think that the Democrats have to decide their person by the end of, or by this convention. So there isn't really much room for anybody else to step up at the moment. But that right there goes back to what I said with Gerald Ford. It could be just a scheme to get a woman into office. So with that, I'll pass.
V.
Yeah, well, You know, I think it's kind of funny because, you know, Hanson, you know, I smell what you're cooking. All right? I can feel what you're spraying here. The sympathy card and all that stuff. But listen, also to go along with that, history will show not that Trump defeated Biden in the polls, but he instead defeated a black woman in the polls, which is going to mire, it's going to scar his victory. And again, history, when the wokeism takes over the country completely, history is going to look back and everybody's going to call Donald Trump a Nazi, which I don't agree with. Okay. So it's kind of a dirty, little underhanded slap in the face because they know he's going to win. It's just a way to throw poop at him because they're sore losers. Everybody on the freaking planet knows Kamala Harris is not going to win that presidency.
Oh anyway, no, they've thrown in the towel on that. They've thrown in the towel.
So, America is more sexist than it is racist. Okay, if Hillary Clinton couldn't get into office, well, Kamala Harris, her chances are very, 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 very slim, I would say. So, yeah, I think it's just sort of just a slap in the face, just to show. I don't even know if it's Biden, his ego not wanting to lose this guy, because he knows he was going to lose too, right? It doesn't matter how much YouTube with the commercials shoves it in your face. Vote for Biden. Vote for Biden. You know, and again, I'm voting for Trump just because of YouTube. Not to be controlled by, you know, the harassment is enough as is with the commercials, but to sit there and tell you who to vote for, like where do you get off? I know YouTube is taking money behind the scenes. I'm starting to see ads for new shows, new channels. I've never seen YouTube promote a channel before, but there's this new YouTube channel with this Christian woman, this like 80-year-old blonde Christian woman talking politics. It's the first time I've seen that commercial. I know it's a little off topic, but the first time I seen that commercial, I went actually to her channel and had less than 1,000 subs, right? I check again, she's got a lot more subs. So how is that fair to anybody?
Oh, it's not.
We got
but
the president, how much did he throw to YouTube? How much did Biden throw to YouTube to play these damn commercials every third video? Just to lose anyways, just drop out? Well, I'm glad he spent his money well, because he sure as hell didn't spend our money well. Okay, so yeah, dropped out because he doesn't want to take that Trump mushroom print on the face. So he's doing substitution jitsu, putting Kamala Harris in his place to take that mushroom print across the face, and that's disgraceful. I'm so disgusted with the Democrats. I mean, just the way that it looks. Kamala knows she has a snowball's chance in hell. I wouldn't accept it. Like, no, I'm not running. I don't want to be president. I don't want to run a losing race. Come on. The only reason why she's vice president to begin with is because she's on Biden's coattails. He selected her for so he can get the black vote. You know, she's constantly being used as a pawn in everybody else's schemes. And she should have more respect for herself, especially being a proud black woman. She should have more respect for herself.
You heard what she did in California, right? With the death sentence?
Yeah, I heard about that. But yeah, we I don't want to get too much into Kamala Harris tonight. I was just looking for quick comments. Yeah, I know, but this is supposed to just be a quick. We're going to be doing a full breakdown of this on Sunday, so
that's the good stuff, though.
Yeah. So anyway, that is pretty much, and I'm not.
I'm done.
Okay. All right. Thanks. So, yeah, more coming up on the next episode. Yeah. Sorry, guys. I don't want this particular topic to drag out because it's like we're gonna be. This came in today after the deadline. So, yeah, it's an important event, so I thought we'd just have a quick comment on it, but we need to really keep this show moving here. So the next topic, and this one is strictly mine, because I don't even think you guys even know who Spetsnaz. Well, maybe V has heard of this guy because I've mentioned him before. But I'm pretty sure Roger's never. You have to go way, way back. You have to go back to the days when MGTOW had. I was watching Spetsnaz do MGTOW content when there were fewer than 10,000 MGTOW on the entire planet. Spetsnaz was one of the. I would call him one of the big four. Sandman, Barbarossa, Stardust, and Spetsnaz were the big four. And it's just a coincidence that most of them started out with S. That's just kind of the way it went. Spetsnaz had a deeply philosophical take. He was almost like the soul of MGTOW. He had a deeply philosophical take, and he talked about the mental mindsets and the mental issues that men have to go through. And he talked about it in a way that men could relate. Now, unfortunately, Spetsnaz didn't really get, and he got into family issues, he got into emotional issues, he got into substance abuse. He talked about feelings and anger and all of those things that Barbarossa and Stardust and Sandman, he covered it in a way that those other three guys didn't. And it made him readily identifiable. He probably was a profoundly sensitive individual. He definitely had his flaws. At one point, he freely admitted this, even though again, right, I have to keep saying this about MGTOW. MGTOW is not a female boycott. It's not an actual men and women need to be separated. MGTOW is a marriage and cohabitation boycott. Apparently, Spetsnaz found a woman and it went really bad for him. And he apparently at one point he tried to commit suicide and he was gone for a few years. And then he came back. Hold on a second. He came back about a year ago, but he wasn't posting up content nearly as regular as he was because he was traveling a whole lot more. Now, what ended up happening is that I was on YouTube this week, and something came across my feed, and it was R.I.P. Spetsnaz. Spetsnaz was in Vietnam, and he got hit by a drunk driver, and now he's dead. And yeah, and while I never actually got the chance to speak to Spetsnaz, a lot of my Manosphere content and a lot of the stuff that I would like to discuss is very similar to the kind of stuff that Spetsnaz discussed. Now, you can't see me, but I am actually standing up right now, and I'm giving the guy a fucking salute. man, like he is like you guys don't know who this guy is, but I would strongly suggest you go over and have a look at his stuff. He describes the male experience in a way that I have not heard any other content creator in the manosphere well, except maybe for me. There was another guy who was kind of doing it for a bit, but then he disappeared. But I mean, he's the only one who was doing it. I'd like to be able to get into it in the same kind of way that he did it. He was absolutely my favorite MGTOW content creator. He was one of the big four from 10 years ago. And let's see, Stardust and Sandman are still around, but Barbarossa has decided to move on, and now Spetsnaz is dead. So yeah, rest in peace, Spetsnaz. You had a lot of influence. He had a lot more influence than maybe the number. Oh yeah, he also had his surprise. He had his YouTube channel taken down at least twice. Fortunately, a lot of his stuff got saved on archive. But he had he had a disproportionately larger influence in the manosphere than maybe a lot of people are aware, because his YouTube channels did get taken down. So the numbers of people that are actually subbed to him on YouTube right now, it's a little bit deceiving. But yeah, if you don't know who he is, I would strongly suggest you go over and have a look. I will probably, when I post this up at YouTube, I will probably post up the link to his YouTube channel down below, because I'm pretty sure YouTube allows links to other YouTube stuff. And I mean, I've got a lot of his archived stuff saved on my hard drive, and I'm going to have to make an effort this week to get as much of that posted up as humanly possible. But yeah, rest in peace, Spetsnaz. And with that, I will turn it over to Roger.
So in the manosphere, you guys aren't supposed to like live with women and marry them?
No. No marriage, no cohabitation. Yeah. That's or the way Hammerhand calls it, no usury. It's not a hard set and fast rule, because there's obviously, like for instance, with MRAs, men's rights activists, a lot of them are actually married, and a lot of the PUAs are actually like Rollo Tomasi. A lot of people don't know this. Rollo Tomasi is married, and Donovan Sharp has been in a long-term live-in relationship with the same woman for a few years now. So it's not with MGTOW, no marriage, no cohabitation. Now that there's a couple of what ifs in there, like what if a guy, and I think, well, Rierson is probably in that category. What if a guy discovers MGTOW after he's been in a shitty marriage for a few years?
Yeah.
So that's not an absolute hard set and fast rule, but I mean, it's like, yeah. The baseline principle, I think Paul Elam, who's not a MGTOW, he's a men's rights activist, another guy who I think you might be well advised to listen to. The way he described a MGTOW is a reaction to a fundamental truth of something, and this is something that a lot of men don't like hearing, which is that any interaction you have with a woman, even if you just pass her on the street and say hello to her, effectively hands her a metaphorical gun that she can turn and use on you at her leisure, and there will be no legal financial consequences for her to do it. And that is a huge imbalance in power that specifically PUAs, but a lot of people in the conservative community don't want to acknowledge. And, I mean, yeah, you want to call me paranoid for pointing this out? You know what? I mean, I'm not. Just because what I'm saying might sound paranoid doesn't make it untrue. And sorry, Roger.
Let me take it further. Can I take it further?
Yeah, let him go first and come back to me, because I'm still. Yeah, well, just let him go first, and I'll come back. I want to hear all.
No, just on this little small point. What Naroki just said. Just anything in the direction of a woman condemn a man. It goes further than that. A woman doesn't even have to know you. She doesn't. Okay, I've got a friend who is constantly in trouble because he's not paying child support. Why is he not paying child support? Because the kids aren't his. Not only are the kids not his, but he had never had sex with a woman or even met her. But yet he's stuck on child support.
Oh, there's a guy in
somebody. Huh?
There's a guy in Michigan. He had to fight in the courts for years because some woman had kids and just randomly put his name down.
That's what happened to my friend John. Oh, I shouldn't use names.
That's paternity.
No last name.
That is That's paternity fraud, right? That's what I talked about.
Yes.
That's why I talked about it a couple months back.
Okay, so with me, man, I mean, like, what it sounds like is you guys are stuck in this like utopian world because, like, as a single man, I live an awesome life where I don't have to freaking have a woman as like in my life freaking telling me to do the dishes and shit. You know what I mean? Like I think what it is men are finally figuring out that it sucks freaking being married to a woman and living in the same house with them because like I'm 51 years old and I sit and I watch these TV commercials about erectile dysfunction and I have no issues whatsoever with my sexual performance, okay? And the only thing I can think of is like these 30, 40-year-old men are sitting there with an ugly bitch and freaking blaming it on their pecker when in reality, no, it's because you got a fucking ugly bitch. You know what I'm saying? And not only once, but you got to do it for the rest of your life in your mind. You know what I mean? So things like that stick out to me. And it's like, I've never been married, and I'm glad I've never been married. And I'm not saying that it's because women are a problem or I'm a problem. I've got just as much issues as what a woman has. You know what I mean? But I came close once to almost getting married, and freaking that was a disaster. And for me, I personally, eventually, I'd say it was about maybe 12 years ago, somewhere in there, I finally decided to go celibate. And that doesn't mean that I'm not going to have sex, okay? It just means at the moment, there's nothing that is encouraging me to do it. And I'm not encouraging anybody else to go celibate. But the reason why I did that was because I found out that I was making bad decisions. And because of those bad decisions, I was choosing bad women in my life, things, period, in my life. So I had to choose for myself. Look, in order for me to get rid of the sickness, I have to look at my problems and where I played the part, you know. And when I did that, that's when things started getting better. All of a sudden, I can actually have conversations with women. And I found out that the majority of women that I freaking know have mental illnesses. They're just completely fucked up. You know, but at the same time, I've got mental illnesses too, so I'm not denying that. Because I've been freaking this way, I've been able to understand it's not just them, it's me as well, you know, so. And I'm not saying that I'm not going to freaking, you know, get in a relationship or have sex or anything, but today it's just not going to happen, you know. But yeah. That's always been something that's interesting to me, and like I've gone through that whole issue. I've got two boys, you know. I've had issues concerning the court systems, and I've also had issues concerning, you know, child support. Trying to find one of them, which I never could. I actually ended up having my sister who found out where my oldest boy was. I didn't get to know him until he was in his 20s, getting ready to hit 30. And I'll tell you what, you want to talk about some serious shit. Try being a single man trying to freaking get custody or help from the government when it comes to freaking children, okay? Because I never married these women. and I had less rights than what a married man had. So that's where it gets even more fucked up. And I had to deal with that stuff. And the weird part about it is that after time went by, I got more pissed off at these organizations than when I did the women who were involved with it, because they were being played just as much as I was. And the only people that profited from it was these freaking organizations, that were supposed to protect my rights and my son's rights and my freaking and the ex's rights. They weren't. They were just manipulating everybody to get what they wanted. So, but I will pass.
Well, I mean, I will point something out here before I let it turn over to V, and it just completely it just completely exited my brain again. So I can't remember what I was going to say. So I'm going to turn it over to V, and then I'll try to remember what the hell it was I was about to say, and then
Okay.
after V finishes.
Well, RIP, R.I.P, Spetsnaz. Yeah, it's funny because I haven't said this on the air, but yeah, a friend told me, he's like, you know what, you want a decent woman, you got to go back east. You want you a decent traditional woman, you got to go back east. He found out, landed a little princess in Poland. He laughed at me. He was like, that's not what I meant. I was like, yeah, I know. You got to go to the Middle East or the East to pick up some Asians. Yeah, I know. But yeah, no, so I've been back in the States. It's like, I've gotten tired of a lot of things. Wanted to come back and sort of refresh myself even here. But it's like grotesque. Like the women I have had to interact with here since I've been back.
You don't have to tell me. I know, but yeah, for the people who are not, yeah, exactly, right. That entitled attitude is just disgusting, isn't it?
I've met snobbish control freaks. Like insane divorcees. We've already talked about the women with baggage. Like, good God. All these women who are, especially the divorcees, if I could rehabilitate anybody, it would be these divorcees. These women, whoo, will they make you pay for the last man's mistakes? If you, for any men out there who's thinking about going to a dive bar, picking up a case of chlamydia from an old divorcee.
Syphilades.
If you're in that boat, I'm pretty sure you grin through it to you fake it till you make it, but don't stick around. So yeah, these women have just been and it's a different kind of insanity from I've always said women are a little bit differently crazy from one to another, but now it's just all out just insanity. Like things like morals or belief system or manners even have gone out the freaking window. I'm going around Wisconsin, and people I've had dealt with here. It's like I thought these were supposed to be like the nice people, No problem with the dudes, but the women are whack jobs. And I hate to say that. I really do. I hate to say it. I'm a big fan of women. I love women. I love women to death. I'm not so MGTOW. I'm pretty much the PUA on the show, but I don't see myself getting with any woman, not an American woman. American woman. No, I'm not getting slanked. But you get my point.
Yep. So yeah, I posted up the hot crazy matrix for all of you to look at. I think it's probably one of the funniest things, other than the Terrence Pot 500 miles of dick, which I may also find a link for and post it up if I can find it. Here's the thing. I mean, this is how insane. This is how evil. And I mean, I've recently discovered a content producer, and we're not really talking about Spetsnaz so much, but I mean, again, this is going beyond Spetsnaz here. There's a guy called Polite Leader who's a bit of a Bible thumper, and I mean, when I post my stuff up at MGTOW TV, there's one guy in there that just simply cannot get past the fact that this guy is a Christian fundamentalist. But what he's done is he's done early research into early feminism. And what he has posted up in his research about early feminism is like this was a flawed movement right from the word go. You know, there's one of them that was a Satanist. There was another one. Like they all come from they all come from broken families. That suffragist, and I mean, I'm pretty sure we're all familiar with that suffragist who just jumped out in the middle of the horse racetrack. Back, I can't remember exactly what her name was now, and they tried to portray her as a young, innocent woman. No, she was a mentally disturbed woman who was literally on parole at the time of that event for being, because she was actually pushing 40, and she was physically abusive. She'd been sent to jail for assaulting people. And she wasn't the sweet, innocent flower that a lot of people think that she was. And it just goes on and on and on and on. I mean, this was a broken ideology right from the start. And what I'm going to also, and this is where I'm going to end off here, and then I will go try to find when I'm finished talking about the next topic, I'll try to find that 500 miles of dick with Terrence Pop on it, and I'll post that one up so we can have a laugh. Because feminism is broken and started out with broken people, that does not, by extension, mean that the manosphere is also a broken ideology. Paul Elam, Warren Farrell, like all of them. Paul Elam had issues, of course, and Warren Farrell, and I mean, like again, like most of the individuals that. Hold on a second. I felt the. Hold on. I felt the sneeze coming on. But that does not mean by extension that the manosphere is also broken. And so rest in peace, Spetsnaz. Your wisdom is going to be missed. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that your content continues to get shared and is continued to be heard. There's a few guys that fall into that category. Barbarossa, Vention, there's a few others that fall into that category as well, but I think their stuff needs to be. Paul Proteus is another one who I've talked about before. These are guys that are no longer with us, that are dead, but their impact and their wisdom on the manosphere, and particularly with MGTOW, is pretty profound. And I'm gonna personally, of all the guys that are dead so far, I'm gonna miss him. And with that, does anybody else have anything more to say? Because we're gonna move on to the next topic. Okay. So the next topic. Joey Starbuck on this one out. And again, what Joey Starbuck has been doing, because Joey Starbuck was the same guy who did this thing on Tractor Supply and about how the CEO was trying to sneak DEI into the stores of Tractor Supply. Because if you went into the store of Tractor Supply and you looked around at the front, you would have never noticed it. But when you went to the back, you'd see all the rainbow displays and you would notice that they were supporting all of the stuff. If you go over to the DEI site, you notice they got a very high score and whatever. And of course, the people who run that DEI site, I think rather arrogantly have posted up the name of every single company that is on board with them. And I'm guessing that's where he discovered that John Deere was on there. Now, John Deere has also engaged in another problem, which they just recently lost. I didn't know about this because I don't own any tractors, don't have anything. I don't own anything made by John Deere. But apparently nobody can repair John Deere equipment except for John Deere techs. They've designed their equipment in such a way that if you own a John Deere tractor, for instance, you have to take it to a John Deere outlet, or you have to have a John Deere technician come out to your farm to fix the equipment. If your super powerful lawn cutter craps out, like, you either have to get it on a truck and drive it into a John Deere office, or John Deere tech has to come out and take a look at it, because it's like, yeah, they've intentionally made parts and made equipment and made access for any other tractor repair person to not get at. And they recently lost that lawsuit. But again, right, Joey Starbuck found the name John Deere on the list of corporations. And by the way, that list of corporations is long, like incredibly long. And he started looking around, and John Deere was so clueless about what they were doing that they literally, on their own website, they had a diversity segment on their website. So all he had to do was go to the site and go look down, and there they are. They're supporting all the LGBTQ stuff, access to kids, education for kids, and all of that other stuff. And it was right there on the web page for anyone to look at. Now, I'm pretty sure we know what John Deere makes and what John Deere is responsible for, and the general political leanings of the people who use John Deere products. Yeah, it didn't go particularly well for them. Once it came out, once it was revealed what they were doing, just like Tractor Supply, and this is something, because we get into the right-wing cancel culture, I think you're going to start seeing more of this now. John Deere immediately pulled all their support, and I think they probably also removed that diversity section from their website. But I mean, John Deere, here's the issue about this, because we also saw this with Tractor Supply. Tractor Supply was trying to keep it clandestine. The bottom line is that, well, here's the thing also about Tractor Supply. The CEO from Tractor Supply was not a person brought up through the ranks. Just like for instance, the Melissa Heinerschneid with Bud Light, they hired some Ivy League graduate that had never dealt with this particular audience before, didn't have the history with the product, didn't come up through the ranks, and this is what happens, right? You get a university educated person that's never really had to go and get into the field and actually deal with the clientele, and comes from a different cultural background or different class of people, and starts to sneak this stuff in. And apparently the person over at John Deere was so clueless that he just went ahead and posted this stuff up, unlike the guy over at Tractor Supply. And, it was easy to spot. So it was just really a question of when they were going to get caught as opposed to whatever. But yeah, another company had to back away from it. I suspect you're going to start seeing more companies backing away from DEI as this goes along. And this is exactly what I was predicting at the start of the year, right? Like, you were going to start seeing companies back away from DEI and pride as the year went along. This is the reason why, because now they pushed it to the point now where you've got individuals that are out of touch, specifically when we get into Disney, out of touch with their own fan bases. And they're doing, because they don't know anything about their fan base, or they disrespect their fan base, they end up doing incalculable amounts of damage to the brand and to the base, to the point where it's going to take years for them to recover. So John Deere saw what happened to Disney, saw what happened to Bud Light, and immediately backed away, just like Tractor Supply. And with that, I want to turn it over to Roger.
Well, I was checking that out too, and I seen on the Tennessee, and I posted the link there for you guys if you wanted to read through that. I haven't really been keeping too much up on John Deere. I knew that there was a scandal out about this, and the diversity thing doesn't really surprise me, to be honest with you, because on your chat, I also posted the thing about from AgWeb. Now that's from Ag Day, and Ag Day is the television show that I've been talking to you guys about that's been going on here in the United States. And don't get me wrong, like news-wise, I don't suggest that you listen to everything that's there, but the one thing that's on there that they do talk about are things you don't see on regular news. So you'll hear things about how crops are developing worldwide and things that are going on in other parts of the world. But other than that, I don't support them, because like Ag Day also supports GMOs. And here in the United States, you can see, I don't see how John Deere and Tractor Supply didn't have some kind of woke movement going on, because you can see a lot of this crazy shit working together. Like for people who are supposed to be worried about the individual and our civil rights and all this cool shit that they're throwing up all over the place, they seem to endorse the idea of using GMOs in their products. It's gotten so bad that freaking now the Department of Agriculture is working with the FDA here in the United States to regulate GMOs. You know what I mean? And we shouldn't be regulating GMOs. We shouldn't be using GMOs. They're harmful to the body. They're harmful to the environment. There's natural freaking things that are growing out in the wild that has to freaking survive, okay? And it's not like our life where we can, actually communicate and freaking stuff like that. This is the wild. This is where it's survival of the fittest between these species. And when you introduce a genetically modified organization into that species, it creates issues. And for some reason, the USDA and the FDA and Ag Day and frickin' AgWeb and all of them seem to endorse this shit. And not only do they endorse it, but they have people who are woke and people who are liberals that are following in with them and saying that this stuff is okay as well. So when you go to McDonald's or you go to Burger King and you buy those French fries, you freaking enjoy the pleasure of having a French fry that's been genetically modified. A potato that you can sit in a freaking corner, dude, for 6 months and it's still going to look the same as what it did when you first put it there. That's how fucked up this shit is. And people eat that stuff. And they're being being manipulated into thinking we care about you. This is us loving you so much that we're going to take care of you, and at the same time they're going behind your back and they're saying that this food's good for you. You go to these restaurants, man, and they're putting the same stuff in their food that women are putting on their face for freaking makeup, and that's okay. You know. So when it comes to John Deere and all of them, I think freaking it actually makes sense that they would be doing stuff because these people really don't care about you. They've actually gotten in bed with freaking the Department of Agriculture, and the Department of Agriculture is pushing these agendas. And we were talking about, you mentioned Monsanto. You know, Monsanto is still going through or doing the same shit. Like Bayer is going through lawsuits right now because of the crap they've been pulling. They're constantly there's lawsuits right now about pesticides that are being put out that are giving people cancer, and yet these liberals and these woke people are supporting them 100% and saying that it's perfectly fine. But we're here to help you. We're here to make you feel better because it's about you. It's not about us. You know, they wanted to come up with a freaking budget here in the United States for farmers and stuff, and still haven't been able to do that either. You know, so that's pretty much all I got about all of it. Of course, you were going to hear about genetically modified stuff when I came on here, so just expect that every time you post stuff like that.
Well, shots fired. Yeah,
I hate this stuff.
I don't know. Is John Deere going queer? Is that
John Deere was an enthusiastic supporter of DEI, and they got caught. And they were so blatant about it that I was surprised they didn't get caught sooner.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think those guys been watching a little bit too much of that Brokeback Mountain. You know what I'm saying?
God. Gotta bring that shit up again.
Well, I mean, when you think of John Deere, you think of, hardcore man work, You don't think of Dylan Mulvaney shucking some corn.
Yeah, you do.
I hope you don't.
Oh my God.
That's horrible.
That's an image that I'm not going to get out of my head for a while.
Farm Deer Green.
Hi, I'm Dylan Mulvaney, and this is my new sponsor, John Deere John Deere tractors. The engine is so powerful.
Oh, have you seen the pistons on this thing?
The pistons go up and down and up and down, and they're thrusting and thrusting and thrusting.
Okay, yeah.
See what you're missing out tonight, Ron Rearson?
I'm pretty sure he has his own piston machine running. The girl out with his gimp suit. Those things are scary. Have you seen those things? It's got the 8-inch black dildo at the end of it, and it just punches at 100.
Oh yeah, they crank those things. I don't stay on them very long, but I watched a couple just out of curiosity. Man, and of course they're also vibrating to boot, and they get those things and they get them up at max speed. And when they're up at max speed and the vibration is up at max speed, the woman usually lasts about 30 seconds before she's just screaming with an orgasm. But continue.
Yeah. Well, the only reason why I know about that is because it's freaking everywhere. When I'm torrenting or whatever, stuff pops up. You get these pop-ups. And I'm seeing this machines a lot. Just, anyways, maybe that's what John Deere is trying to get into. I'm pretty sure they can make some models that'll whew,
The
turn that 30 seconds
new,
into 5 seconds.
the new John Deere pump and dump. That's right, ladies. You rent it out, you take it home, it gets you to the moon, and then you have to take it back. The new John Deere pump and dump. And don't forget our newest model, the Abdominatrix. Yes, it'll whip and punish you as it's banging you. Continue. All brought to you by John Deere.
Well, I would like if John Deere would start making some anatomically huge, robot women. Hey, this is where it's going anyways, right? There's nothing that's going to compare. There's no guy is going to be able to compare with the machinery that these women are putting inside of them now. No man's going to be able to compete with that. So, us dudes, we got to have something, right? Don't they have the silicone that's like realistic now? Or like, I don't know, you touch it.
Oh,
like,
yeah, those things. Yeah, they've actually, because I've seen them, like some of the bigger named porn performers, they like literally have casts made of their vagina. And
talk about indulgent. Well, John Deere, I mean, this is, I don't have too much to say about this, which is why I'm cracking jokes. But if John Deere wants to go John Deere, hey, Brokeback Mountain cleared the way in more ways than one. So I say let him go for it. I personally, I'm not into agriculture. Even if I did get into agriculture, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be buying name brand equipment anyways. So more power to them. But I'm gonna say there's gonna be a backlash though if people are driving their John Deere tracks down the road and LGBTQ people roll up next to the guy trying to hit on him. There's gonna be some murders.
Yep.
With that, that's all I got.
Yes, in exposure to John Deere has changed its name from John Deere to John Queer. That's right. Yes, we're coming out with a new variety of sex machines on top of the tractors. That's right. We will have the big, huge, powerful man pump twist. It vibrates so hard and pumps so hard that you'll be in heaven, ladies, in under 30 seconds. You'll be screaming out, "Oh God," and you won't even have to go to church to do it.
This has been brought to you by John Deere Queen.
Exactly. Oh man, I'm going to have to come up with a new commercial for that. I'm going to have to come up with a new mocking commercial for that.
John Deere, get your stud machine today.
John Deere. Actually, no, it would be now John Queer, but it is John Deere, get your stud machine today.
I love it.
John Deere stud machine. All right, so that's what we've got at the Red Pill Nation. One standard, no standard. Anyway, so now that we've had our fun with John Deere, let's move on to the next topic, and this is the one where it gets really interesting. As expected, there has been a slow trickle of facts being revealed about the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Almost immediately, it became clear, we didn't know about him. It turns out that he was on their radar twice, and nobody actually, not only did nobody go over and confront the guy, but, the second time they spotted him, it was very, very clear that there was something going on, and they did not immediately just say, "No, we can't put you out there. It's a security risk." So somebody either, knowingly, or there's either grave incompetence or it was a knowing conspiracy about it, because it's sort of like the guy had to carry a gun and a ladder to a spot, put it up, climb up on the roof, and get into position. He was being reported all the way. And as it so turns out, there's I won't say a grassy knoll, but there's a water tower that was with that they also could have taken pot shots at Trump with. Apparently there was somebody up there who didn't take any shots, because if he had taken shots and missed, there would have been additional people killed, and there wasn't. But the whole thing, there's a long series of, well, it's either it was allowed to happen or it was a gross misstep, and it just things keep happening. First, they tried to say, well, this guy was a registered Republican, and then, of course, there's some videos come out about him, and they interview some of the people who knew him, and it clearly said he was not a, he may have been I'm going to be kind of curious to find out when he was registered as a Republican. That may have been done to throw people off, especially if the other stuff happens. Both of his parents were were counselors of some type. They phoned the police the day of the Trump speech in their town and reported to the police that their likely mentally unhinged son had disappeared and had taken the firearms with him. And nobody in the Secret Service went down to they went down to the police station and they ignored it, or it was left, or it was allowed to happen. But the one that really stands out for me on this is the fact that, and this is the one that absolutely convinces me that it was not incompetence, but this was an actual planned event, was the fact that the day before the assassination, there were large amounts of money placed on corporations that Trump runs to short them. As in, they were betting that these companies were going to fail. So yeah, that was that really piqued up my ears, because it was done the day before, right? Not the day of. Also, as it so turns out, the head of the Secret Service obviously did not provide Donald Trump with a full detail. He got less than a full detail of the of an assignment that most ex-presidents actually get. Like, most ex-presidents have an extensive web of Secret Service around them. Reason why is that you could get to an ex-president, you could kidnap an ex-president, and you could get stuff that is still potentially damaging. So they make sure that nobody can get to an ex-president. Hold on a second. I don't know why I'm needing to cough a lot tonight. So there's just one thing after another, and also now that rather ominous bill, which has obviously not going to get passed at all, done by those 7 Democrats, which was basic, and I covered this on this show a few months ago, where they tried to basically get Donald Trump's Secret Service detail removed because he had been convicted of a felony. Obviously, that's not going to get passed. But, I mean, when I went over to the Twitter accounts of these particular Democrats that did this, they all had this same statement up, and they were getting absolutely roasted. In fact, one of them had even privated his account. So, and don't ask me to recall which one it was, but I think one of them privated his account, or it may have been, I don't know. But yeah, there's enough evidence of circumstance around this to say that this was probably planned. Also, anybody who thinks that this event was staged, somebody took the time and effort and energy to focus the video on Trump's ear and face just as the shot was fired. And you can see from one frame to the next where Trump had his full ear, and then in the next frame, he doesn't because the bullet passed through it. So that eliminates the claim that, when he ducked down underneath, he pulled out this bandage to smear his face with blood to make it look like it had been a staged event, because it quite clearly wasn't. Now we'll get into the cancel culture stuff for topic 4, but that's all I got to say on this. I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
Yeah, I actually brought this up on my show, and I mentioned it too on Jeffy's. I finally was able to check it out on how far the Secret Service does provide protection, and it says, or what I found out is that, the Secret Service provides a lifetime protection for former presidents and their spouses. But with the children, it only extends until they turn 16. That was in regards to RFK with him, but he was running for president too. So even just because he was also, I don't know if RFK was the nephew of JFK or if he was the son of JFK or
he was the nephew of JFK.
Yeah,
so son of Robert F. Kennedy. Yeah, Robert F. Kennedy.
He'd have been
son.
Bobby.
Yeah.
He'd have been Bobby, who was also assassinated, by the way. And he freaking he you would think that even though he came from the Kennedys family, that he would at least get some decent security there, but he apparently was turned down 4 or 5 times by the White House for having security from the Secret Service on him as well. That kind of stuck with me on that one, but I did find out the information on it. I haven't really dug too much into RFK because, like, from what I've heard from him, he doesn't really go in the direction politically that I go in, but with Trump, now for me, I honestly believe that the guy was so he was a lone gunman because, like, he wasn't professional enough to actually take Donald Trump out, and he ended up like killing a firefighter too, by the way. So that's something that people need to remember as well. A firefighter ended up dying in that, and that's just as important as if a cop was killed or anything like that. So, especially considering it's firefighters, because they don't go out there freaking and harass people and hurt them or anything of that nature. The only thing they want to do is fight fires and make it safe for everybody to live in. So that's something that we all need to remember. I think that if that assassination attempt did happen, this country would have definitely gone straight to hell. So in reality, it was a blessing that this guy couldn't freaking hit his target, because I could see this country being in a lot worse shape than what it is afterwards, since it's an attempted assassination attempt, But the thing that gets me too, that is kind of coincidental, and this is the conspiracy side of me, is you were talking about people flooding money into Trump's corporations. And the thing that I've noticed with the research I've done was they did the same thing the day before 9/11. Also, before 9/11, exactly the day before, they were doing hearings on freaking, what do they call that, where
there was missing money in the Pentagon. They actually moved all the evidence into the very room that the plane that hit the Pentagon hit.
They were also doing disclosure hearings the day before in Washington, and a lot of people, when they hear the disclosure hearings, they're thinking that it has to do with UFOs and stuff of that nature, but they were actually doing disclosure on everything. I think even Sibel Edmond showed up there to give testimony over what happened. No, Sibel was afterwards. It was, what's his name? oh God, there was a guy who showed up. He was talking about a situation that had happened back in the 70s with the Iran. No, not Iran, but with a
The attempted hostage rescue of the Americans in Tehran. Yeah, there
yeah.
was
There,
open acknowledgement that they tampered with the helicopters before they took off.
hmm and
There was just a long series of malfunctions of those helicopters, and it wasn't just one of them, it was like several of them, right? That went like that. So yeah, that was a deliberate.
and
That
and
was a. Go ahead.
and that was all taking place a day before 9/11. And then like whenever you're talking about them doing that, it's the same. It happens all the time before these events, and so that is something to look at. You know, I still wouldn't say that he was trained by any kind of organization or anything, because to be honest, a person who was professional would have been able to take him out at that distance with that lack of security. And I will say, though, that the security was horrible, because they even pointed out all the rooftops that these people weren't freaking covering, you know? So, with that, I'll shut up and pass it.
Well, I mean, I will point something out here because I know Justin Trudeau hasn't, because one of the guys who was on Trudeau's security detail, his job is to go ahead of any event that Trudeau makes a public appearance, that he has to go and he has to check every single rooftop, and they have to put security at every potential rooftop vantage point within, I think it's a half a mile of where Trudeau is going to be, to prevent this sort of thing. And they didn't do that with Trump. Like, yeah, seriously.
By
Anyway,
design, my friend. By design.
yep.
I've never heard of a president, an ex-president, having his Secret Service, well, somebody attempting to take his Secret Service from him. That Secret Service is there not for the protection of the president per se. The Secret Service is there to stop anyone from being able to access the information that he knows. So that means somebody kidnapping him, that can't happen. Somebody him selling state secrets to other countries, that can't happen. Exactly. The government, the Secret Service, actually does not care about the life of the ex-presidents that they're assigned to. They just have to guard state secrets, and that's what an ex-president essentially boils down to. Not a human being, not a retiree, not somebody who's lost their job, not it's just to guard state secrets. So yeah, so they're not they're not gonna dive in front of a bullet to save this man. They will do what they can to keep him relatively safe, but they're not gonna dive in front of a bullet to protect him. Okay. Unless, and this is what I would do if I were Trump, I would have paid an extra salary to those guys for protecting me. If I were Trump. And just all the same, the government trying to, these lefties trying to pull the protection away, I would have doubled down. I would have hired private security on top of that. And I would have hired some Magnum PIs to watch their communications. I would have had them tapped, just to make sure that my own guys don't kill me. You know, for it being like an inside job. No. So yeah,
you mean like what happened with the Gandhi family back in the early '80s, where their own security ended up killing them, especially when they stormed the Golden Sikh Temple in Amritsar, and both Indira and Rajiv both got killed by Sikh bodyguards. Continue.
Just like that. Just like that. Exactly. So Trump's got the money. It's not like I know some of these ex-presidents, they steal a few $1 million before they go. But, you know, Trump, I know he spent nearly $1 billion in shutting down lawsuits, but he's still a rich man. That's definitely something I would have done. It's just ridiculous. How are they going to say it's faked? Didn't somebody die? That was in the behind him that got shot. Didn't somebody die? Yeah.
No, stop talking common sense. You know, that just makes them mad.
Yeah, no, somebody volunteered to die for this so-called hoax or fraud or whatever they're trying to say it is. Yeah, somebody's gonna volunteer for that, sure. So I just, it was planned. Again, it all sounds like CIA. You've got the shooter who's up fairly close, in a position where they should have had security. It should have been swept. The guy doesn't survive. I mean, was the guy black? I mean, if you shoot.
No, he was white.
I've seen so many videos where you have these aggressive, like insanely aggressive white people dealing with cops, and the cops are trying to be polite with them, get them to calm down. But you see another video of black people just trying to mind their business, trying to be nice, and you got cops being aggressive on top of them. So, I mean, this guy was a CIA patsy to be killed after his attempt, or he was a black guy. Those are the only two reasons why he wouldn't survive. So, I think we need to get to the bottom of that. Big time. So, but anyways, I don't want to ramble on too long. Let's go.
Oh, yeah, there's just a whole, and there's going to be more as this goes on. Just, you know, I will point out that, I mean, I know a couple of white guys who got, in fact, one guy from my high school ended up, the official cause of death was listed as a heart attack. But the actual cause of death, apparently, from the people who actually saw the event go down, was he was a white guy, by the way. This happened to a couple of white guys, and the guy, the cops just beat him to fucking death. In the case of this particular individual, he was high on coke and he would not calm down, and he did have a coke problem, unfortunately. But anyway, let's get on with the next. Topic here. The next topic is very, very interesting because cancel culture has been something that you hear talked about being done to conservatives, not the other way around. But apparently what has happened here is because of what's happened, and because some people are such deplorable, disgusting human beings that they just don't seem to get the fact that political violence is not acceptable under any circumstance. You know, what you ended up happening is that you had a bunch of people on Twitter and whatever commenting about, oops, gee, I'm so disappointed that the shooter didn't hit Trump and that Trump is still alive. And apparently there were quite a few of them. There was, oddly enough, another firefighter who commented something, and then, of course, he got snarky about it and doubled down, which, of course, just immediately attracted attention to the guy even more. and he was basically forced to quit his job. There was a university professor up in hold on. There's a university professor up at UBC. She's got tenure. That tenure is now being reviewed. There's a couple of government employees that were forced to resign. Multiple people were fired. There was a couple of other people who tweeted stuff who ended up, like this one woman who worked at a donut shop commented about it, and a bunch of and this one veteran went in there and basically gave her a piece of her mind because she was arrogant enough to do something like this. But the two biggest heads that fell over this were the streamer Destiny. You got to understand, Destiny has not been having a good year. Now, we've covered Destiny before. Destiny is, and I will give him credit, at least he has the and I'm going to like hold my arms up and use ditto marks as I say this, the integrity to challenge people on the right and their narrative. And he is a absolute master debater. But one of his tactics is that he will go over to people who don't necessarily engage in debates and then challenge them to debates. And these guys said, I don't do debates. And what he'll do is that he will go back on his channel and he will say, well, this person chickened out. And it's like, I mean, for instance, me, I don't do debates. Like, I don't do debates. I don't do debates not because I can't do them, because I know the people who, for the most part, that engage in them are dishonest shitheads like Destiny. Now, Destiny, apparently, I guess V likes Destiny. Oh, wait, no, he's back. Okay, so the issue with Destiny, and I mean, among other things, he pulled a whole bunch of crap around the Manosphere a few months back. And then when people started in the Manosphere started getting wise to his stuff and started coming back at him, he just suddenly stopped appearing on Manosphere shows, mostly because people were starting to get a grasp on his tactics and figured out what they had to do to get around him. Among the other things that Destiny, and this is the one that really shot his credibility into the ground, is that he was married, and he allowed his wife, maybe it's just his thing, maybe he likes being a cuck, I don't know, but he allowed his wife to fuck other men. And this ended up catching up to him in a big way. And because he had literally been attacking the Manosphere and calling them a bunch of hypocrites and liars and dishonest and all that sort of stuff, only to have his own wife go out and cheat on him publicly with another content creator. And yeah, there were more than a few guys in the Manosphere who were like going, yeah, F you, Destiny. I hope your divorce is ugly. And apparently it was. And he had to settle it quickly because he was slow. He knew that the Manosphere, that the sharks in the Manosphere were circling around. And if it had gotten ugly, they would have absolutely ripped him to shreds. And then, of course, Destiny, Piers Morgan's had him on twice, and each time he's gone on Piers Morgan, he has absolutely been destroyed. And he was on again this week on Piers Morgan. Instead of being politely respectable, I mean, am I under the impression that this fireman who got killed at the Trump attempted assassination is a perfect human being? No. But you don't go around gloating about the fact that somehow this guy's fault because he was a Trump supporter. If he hadn't been a Trump supporter, you know, if you hadn't been one of those stupid retarded Trump supporters, he never would have been there in the first place, hence he never would have been shot. And it's like, yeah, no, Piers Morgan called him out on that right away. He got booted from Twitch. He got booted from another social media channel. He lost a whole bunch of stuff over that, but not as bad as what happened to Jack Black and his partner in the band Tenacious D. Jack Black's partner in that band is one of those guys with such a bad case of Trump derangement syndrome that I suspect that if Orange Man Bad were an actual product, he'd be ordering it by the semi-truck full. So they have a birthday. They sing happy birthday to him on stage. And then Jack Black looks at him and goes, make a wish. And instead of wishing for something nice, he says, next time, don't miss Trump. All of the venues that they had for this tour in Australia almost immediately canceled. His agency, not Jack Black, but his partner, immediately got the agency that represents Tenacious D and Jack Black's partner immediately dumped him. They got booted out of Australia. And, I mean, this is on top of what Jack Black did recently where he endorsed Biden and was basically getting all chummy with Barack Obama and Joe Biden at this political event. And, yeah, like, there was a number of people that ended up on the left that ended up becoming victims of cancel culture. And of course, you know, they started crying like a bunch of crybabies. And it's like, and there's a lot of people on the right that were going, aw, gee, you're facing cancel culture? Oh, you poor baby. That must suck. Welcome to our side of the political aisle. And, you know, there's a part of me that is not feeling particularly sympathetic at what happened to these people. Because, yeah, like, for me personally, I've had 2 YouTube channels taken down. I've had my Twitter taken down. I have been booted off Reddit. I've had 5 Facebook accounts taken down. You know, I've had 3 death threats. I've had multiple people threaten physical harm on me. I have hit twice. I've literally had people. And one guy from New Zealand actually said, why don't you come down to New Zealand and we'll see who the real man is? Yeah, that actually happened back in 2016. I've had people, in fact, this happened quite recently. I had somebody go on all of the alt video channels just to downvote my content on these channels and then immediately log off and not come back in. And that's just me. And I'm small potatoes compared to some of these other people, right? So there's a part of me that's definitely not feeling very sympathetic towards these people. And then you're going to love this. Alex Jones, of all people, makes a video about cancel culture and about how cancel culture is not okay from either side of the political aisle. And I think the best way, and they said the best way to expose heinous and ugly people like this is to put them, like what's happened with specifically with Destiny and Jack Black's partner in Tenacious D, is to put them under the spotlight and show everybody what oh, by the way, Mark Hamill also posted up something pretty despicable too about the assassination. And that kind of fell under the radar a little bit, and Hamill's already on the outs anyway. More on that when we get to Section 5. And so did a lot of people with Trump derangement syndrome on Twitter/X. But I mean, yeah, he said, no, cancel culture is not good. And he said, yes, I get it, man. Having been a victim of cancel culture myself, right? Now, I understand the anger that you're feeling towards some of these individuals, and I completely understand the lack of sympathy you're feeling towards these leftists that are facing cancel culture for the first time, these people in the media who are crying like babies now because it's actually coming back to bite them, which, by the way, they were told was going to happen at some point anyway, but now they're finding out for real. And then it's not good either way. And it was sort of like, yeah, that's true. Right? Cancel culture is cancel culture. And I will bring up one particular event that happened in my area, which I covered on the show. That town in Alberta that decided that they weren't going to use their town resources to paint gay crosswalks. Now, the film group that I run a film group here in Edmonton. I'm not active in the film community anymore, but I keep the site going. There's another film group that runs, and that individual who runs that group purposely and willingly has in the past stolen ideas from. Basically, I've got a very bad history with the guy, and he went down and said on his film group, he went, well, let's boycott any artists that come out of this community, and let's not give them any of our support. Let's not allow them any of our resources. He did this on his film group, and because I will admit it was a bit of an egotistical thing. I went over to my group and I said, I do not engage in cancel. I didn't respond to him specifically, but I went to my group and I says, I do not and I will not engage in cancel culture at this group. What goes on at that other group is beside the point, but I will not engage in cancel culture, nor will I not take a political stand over this issue. There I do have limits, but that was it. And what ended up happening is that I had a few people that were in the group try to yell and scream me down. And I mean, I was expecting that, right? It's the film industry. You get a lot of leftists in the film industry. And what was really, there were two things that kind of like tipped me over the line on this. One was at least one of the people who was screaming and yelling at me started inviting people into the group with the sole intent and purpose of trying to yell and scream at me more. Which meant that, because you can't be a member, you can't post up at my group without actually being a member of it. But what happened afterwards was it really pissed me off. What they tried to do, because they couldn't cancel these artists from this town, and they weren't going to be able to make it work effectively unless all of the three major groups online had got along with this, is that they tried to do it clandestinely. They tried to cancel me. It didn't work, but I knew several people that did get involved in it, and some of these were people that I had helped out in the past. So yeah, I have been a victim of cancel culture, or at least attempted cancel culture. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
Well, I mean, with the whole thing that you was talking there about destiny, like, having other men sleep with his wife. I mean, for me, I actually suggested that at one point, because I think somebody was talking about not being able to get along with their wife and everything, and I'm like, well, dude, if you still love her, freaking do that, And I mean, for me, my whole outlook about sex is a lot different than what it used to be, because I know that, like, when people get married, they usually have this bond with one another, and if that bond's gone, then there's no use keeping the charade going, you know what I mean? So if you're okay as a married man at allowing your woman to have sex with another man, that means that there's really no connection there like it was when you first got married. So first of all, for me as marriage, I think that marriage is horrible because it's a trap. I don't think men should really be married because the population is 3 against 1, I believe, 3 women to every man. It might have even gone up, but naturally, freaking men should freaking be able to have sex with more than one woman. I think that was one big mistake that humans have created, this idea that we should be bound to one woman for the rest of our lives. um, and that's just my personal take on it. I've actually thought that through, believe it or not, and I believe that those it would be a better way of living if people actually believe that. Marriage seems to cause more problems for people than when it does anything good for them. And at one time back in the 1940s, people believed that marriage was it was a freaking bond between you and the other person and God. And now it's become the institution of marriage. So now it's become economical. You know what I mean? And that makes it even more worthless than what it was before, because now it's all about the money and shit like that. So for me personally, when it comes to that, I encourage people, freaking, if that's what you think the problem is, that your marriage isn't what it used to be and that you don't care about your significant other, just let her go on out and sleep with another man. If you don't have any kind of feelings about that and you're okay with it, then that means the relationship's over. If you do have feelings, then that means that freaking you do still care about that woman and you want to be with her and you're willing to work it out. But you have to understand that first, because sometimes, and we have crap loads of bad marriages where people are getting divorced 5-10 years after they get married, and it was because they had these naive ideas that they loved one another, and it really wasn't love. So that's another opinion I have on it. But when it comes to this cancel culture and shit like that, I think more on the lines of stuff like what's her face off of Charmed, when she was going and collecting names of everybody who supported that one guy who was trying to run for or who was going up for hearings on if he was going to become the Supreme Court justice. She was sitting in the courtroom with her telephone taking names down on everybody in there so that they could what do they call it, taking the names and then freaking harassing them on the phone and shit, and doxing. She was making a name list of everybody so that freaking they could be doxed. And that's the one thing that they're getting big on now too. If they freaking think that you are somebody who needs to be on that list, they'll put your name on that list, and the next thing you know, you're going to get freaking phone calls to your boss saying how horrible of a person you are, and you're going to get people who freaking are close to you that are getting messages telling them that you did this and you did that, and they'll stalk you on the internet and try to come up with dirt on you so that they could, tell people close to you, like your bosses and employers, people you work with, what kind of stuff you do on the internet or things of that nature. So, and the messed up part about that is, like, all these groups everybody supports and they think that are so great, like Anonymous, they're the ones behind most of this shit. All these supposed people who care about everybody's rights and stuff like that, they're the ones that are doing these doxing and doing shit of that nature. So don't be fooled by thinking that, a lot of these groups who you think are so cool aren't involved with that, because they are. They actually make lists and post them up on their freaking on their websites and shit so that you can add names to it as you go. And it's really getting out of hand when it comes to that. I was always used to referring to it as something else other than cancel culture, though, is people who are into like safe spaces and shit like that. Like, you got to create a safe space to where everybody can go and they won't be criticized for all of the horrible things that you've done. You can just go into that safe space, and you don't have to worry about all those horrible, mean people. And then you also find people who want to talk all this shit, but then when you go to talk back to them about it, all of a sudden you're a troll, and you that they don't even want to talk to you about it. They don't even want to have a conversation. You know, they say, "Oh, we need to have a conversation," as long as it agrees with what they're talking about. If you have any arguments against what they're talking about, then all of a sudden you're blocked and you can't be, you know, a part of this conversation that everybody's supposed to be in. I find that kind of funny too. And when it comes to YouTube and all of this other stuff, you know, things are just so outrageous today that I'm really kind of freaking, I'm kind of stuck on it, you know what I mean? Because, like, for me, in between is the way I say it. Because, like, for me personally, you know, like, I've created YouTube channels, and these YouTube channels are things that I've worked on, and it has absolutely nothing to do with anybody else. This is stuff that I've personally done on my own from the beginning till now. Okay, so when it comes to my channels, okay, all of these channels and the things that I've done on those channels represent me and what I've done, all right, on the internet with videos and things of that nature. So when I end up getting a warning or I end up getting a strike, it affects me. It makes me upset because there's a chance that all my stuff that I've been working on is going to get freaking taken off of there. Okay, so when it comes to that, you know, I'm kind of in between about it because there are a lot of things that freaking I do agree with, but there's also things that I know people are just going way overboard about. Like, I know people who have been talking about stuff that they know will get them kicked off of YouTube, but they still talk about it over and over and over again, and they just keep doing it. And it's like none of the stuff that they've done on their channels means anything to them whatsoever. They get strikes, they get kicked off, they get banned, and they become focused on all of this shit. You know what I mean? And for me personally, I don't want to lose any of that stuff because this stuff is priceless to me. This is stuff that I've put my time and effort in, not only in streaming like we're doing here, but I've edited content and I've freaking created content from scratch. So when it comes to coming onto my channels, you're not shitting on YouTube when you run your mouth about stuff that freaking you know is going to get me in trouble. You're shitting on me. You're coming into my house and you're shitting on my content. You know what I mean? So I have to be careful about that too, you know what I mean? And not everybody intentionally does it, but a lot of them do. They come in and they just keep talking about stuff that they know is going to get me in trouble. And I just have to freaking put up with it, you know? I'm sacrificed so another person can cause shit, you know what I mean? So I'm stuck in between the two of them, you know what I mean? Whereas freaking, even like going on to Rumble. You can go on Rumble and pretty much say whatever you want now today, right? But they're just like YouTube, but at an earlier stage. Later on, they're going to end up doing the same shit YouTube's doing, just like freaking what Twitter's doing. Well, X is doing it. Not as bad, but they're doing it, just like all these other platforms. And the reason why is because eventually they're going to get bigger, and the same shit's going to happen with them that happened with YouTube and all the other ones. They're going to start getting pressured by these freaking groups. They're going to get pressured by the government, all of that. So 10 years down the road, I'm going to get freaking warnings on my channel about shit that I did today, which has happened on Facebook and YouTube. I've finally walked away from Facebook about a year ago, and it was the best thing I ever did. But with this, everything that's coming out on the internet is just too freaking, it's always to this extreme or to that extreme. And when it comes down to my channels, it's about me and what I put on that channel that matters. It has nothing to do with YouTube. It has nothing to do with anybody that comes onto my channel. It has to do with things that I have actually made that belongs to me, So I'm kind of divided on that one at the moment, I've had issues with, warnings and shit. I just got a warning because of the interview me and V had, you know what I mean? But even that had absolutely nothing to do with what we were talking about. Like, they tried to make it out like we were giving medical misinformation, and not one time in the conversation did we even suggest that people freaking take this shit and put it down their throats, you know what I mean? But I was okay with it. That's fine, but there's other people too. Like, I couldn't freaking let just anybody come on my channel and do an interview, because I know point blank they'll freaking start running their mouths on the pure intention of getting my channel in trouble. Okay. And they'll do it on purpose. So I have to be careful about the people that I allow on my channels. And that's just how I feel about it. It's not just a one-way street. It's a two-way street. So
wait a minute. Are you telling me you got like some strike or notification about medical misinformation?
Yeah, and not one time did we ever freaking have a conversation about that shit, ever. We were talking about compound
on YouTube?
shit. Yeah. It was a warning.
It's probably because I mentioned vaccine, which is like the word that you don't mention, and how I explained the adjuvants and aluminum and all that crap.
Yeah, I was thinking the aluminum. It was probably the aluminum where it all happened. But
I had some people streaming my documentaries. I'm sorry to interrupt. Some streaming my documentaries, and I did a documentary on transhumanism, explaining other ways aluminum is responsible for terrible things, and people who were restreaming my stuff got struck down, got their got their stream straight up stopped.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But yeah, that's probably where it came from, And it's like freaking you can tell in between them, But then like there's other people that we all know, who freaking have been knocked down to freaking 2 platforms. Okay, and the reason why they've been knocked down to 2 platforms and can't go on any other one is because they can't shut up. It's like freaking they have potential. This, one person that I have freaking that I'm talking about has this voice that is just set up perfect for radio, but he's not going to go anywhere because he will not stop. You know what I mean? Stop. Get serious about your career and what you want to do with it, and be professional. Don't keep fighting the man when you're the only one getting hurt out of the deal. You know what I mean? And there's tons and tons of examples of this that I've met within the last year of people who've been doing this same thing, and they do not want to get it through their head that all you have to do is follow rules. That is it. And you can still come out with good content. Just stop, and that's the thing that gets me. So it's not just one side, it's 2 sides. You know what I mean? There's a reason why people are getting pushed off into the abyss. It's because they choose to continue in the path they're going, I don't make freaking pictures of a Jewish person with freaking Adolf Hitler's mustache and then put it on a freaking slideshow. You know what I mean? Come on, dude. You're just asking for it. It's just common sense shit like that. And they keep doing this stuff, talking about people freaking murdering babies and sacrificing them and freaking eating their bodies and shit. And then they wonder why they're getting kicked off of YouTube and shit. Well, okay, dude, there's a reason for that. Maybe you shouldn't be talking about that on your channel. I mean, does any of the other stuff you did before even matter to you? No. That's why you're just shitting on it and throwing it away.
Well, I've been nailed for quote unquote medical misinformation. The one video that I had taken down wasn't even, it was basic. The one video that I had taken down recently that got me my most recent strike, I wasn't even talking about the vaccine. I was talking about what was going on with Dr. Fauci.
Oh, yeah.
And I still got hit with a medical misinformation strike.
Just for mentioning him. Yep. And you see, my whole point is like, this is our content. This is the stuff that we've worked years for. So be professional and think about it like that. This is stuff that's going to freaking keep you either going in the right direction, or you're going to end up being like those other guys who are stuck to 2 platforms and you can't get nobody to freaking do. Or you can't get on anybody else's platforms because you've already been kicked off of them. You know what
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, if you're going to talk about content like that, you know, start your own website and post that stuff up there. Don't post it up for public consumption.
Exactly. And I that's what I did with V's, because we had an excellent interview. I thought it was excellent. So I put it on my locals, as well as on Rumble and Odyssey. So it is available there. And that's what I'm going to start doing. You know, if I get these people who want to have interviews with me and stuff, and it's controversial I'm not even going to play around with Rumble, to be honest with you, because I seriously feel that that's going to come to an end. That's going to end up being just like with YouTube eventually, because they are getting big. A lot of people don't realize that, but they are.
Oh yeah, Rumble is getting to the point now where, and they are gonna start. They did try earlier this year to try to get Rumble to toe the line. They are gonna start putting political pressure on Rumble. Rumble will have to make some moves. Hopefully they won't get nearly as bad as YouTube did. Mm-hmm. But they are gonna basically have to make some, maybe not as much as to say what Elon Musk had to do with X, but they are gonna have to make a few moves. I mean, even Andrew Torba over at Gab has to censor stuff from time to time, and Gab is about the closest thing you're gonna get to the Wild West.
Right. I also want to mention too, before we end this topic, there is some amazing things going on with Odyssey. You guys need to check that out if you have a chance. The guy the heavyset guy, I keep forgetting his name, but he put out a video about what news happening on Odyssey, and we are going to do an episode, the last episode for this year on Tech Talk about it. It's called R.I.P. And this stuff is amazing. So if you guys have a chance and you're on Odyssey, go check that out. I think you're going to like it. So I'm going to pass on that one.
All right, V, you're up.
Yeah. Well, you got to post your stuff on tlbtalk.com, ladies and gentlemen. tlbtalk.com. Yeah. Doesn't get any better than that. So, Sneeko, huh?
You know, I gotta say this thing. I've never watched Sneeko ever.
Neither have I.
You know, and here's the thing. I mean, everybody just assumes that I knew of him, but everybody just assumes that everybody in the manosphere is like all buddy, and that we all talk to each other. I mean, I've never seen. I don't even think I've seen Sneeko even talk, except maybe if he was on somebody else's show and they were using a segment from his clips. I've never watched Sneeko at all. Continue.
he's the guy. He's the guy that I was referring to, who like slut shames chicks on his shows, and then talks about he loves God and Jesus and shit.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I've never.
Well, I loved how he was getting clowned on by his own bros because he was letting other dudes hit his woman. And so, Destiny, I mean, listen, okay, so I'm a millennial, right? Okay. Hot wifing is not something necessarily I wouldn't engage it as something that, as far as love or romance is concerned, because I mean, I know some people who actually get off while either cucking or hot wifing, and feel pride in their woman. I mean, listen. I'll be honest with you. I had a girl back in the day. Yeah, she'll do you. But guess what? You better watch your pocket. she'll take the money. She'll take you for everything you got, then come back to me. So, oh boy, my youth. God, I think I've been through it all. I've definitely grown and matured very much since then. But for these young people, I think these sort of things that we hold as traditionally valuable, it's not so much anymore. Did we lose Roger?
Yeah, I'm sending him a message right now. I don't know what happened. I'm having to assume it's.
I hope he's not upset I'm contradicting him, but it's one of those things. It's niche. I'm not saying it's normal amongst my generation or even Gen Zs. It is niche, but it's not a parameter. It's not the litmus test. What's a litmus? What does it do? Does it test litmuses? It's not the litmus test of love per se. It can be a symptom, most definitely. If you're letting your woman go out and about, some dudes really fall in love when they come back. You know what they say. If you let something go, you let it come back, it's yours. Or that person has just realized she screwed up and her options were sucky and she's coming back. So I don't know. Jack Black, I think he's just trying to remain relative. I think he's just trying to continue to stay in the lexicon, of what's happening. To go on a network or anywhere and say that they're happy someone almost got assassinated, well, you better have something to back that up. I don't know if he said anything past, what he originally said, but I do think, we got this cancel culture and everything. I think Jack Black, he's already been through the whole satanic rocker, parents hating him and people. I saw a thumbnail for a video the other day talking about Jack Black is the devil or something like that. He's got his devil horns up with his hand, devil sign. It's like, Jack Black is a novelty. Well, he's just novelty in himself. He sort of parodies music, but takes himself super seriously. So I think that's sort of thing. He just wants to remain relevant. So I don't know what Hamill's deal is. I really don't. He seems to be bouncing around the place. It's great to know that he's still alive, though. But yeah, I mean, traditionally speaking, it's a mess. It really is. The whole sharing of the women, but to each their own. To each their own. I mean, some people have an emotional depth. I can tell you, this is probably something people in the manosphere can connect with. As time goes on, you're able to feel less and less and less and less. The more BS you go through, like with these modern day women, some men might only be able to feel only so much for a woman. I know. But gut miracle. I don't know. I'm jaded, maybe. I don't know. I love women. I have my female supporters everywhere. But it's brutal. It's brutal. And that's I don't know what Destiny's doing with himself. It's funny that we're talking about a guy named Destiny. One of my first girlfriends was named Destiny. As an elementary school a kid, we used to dry hump like crazy. So, and surprisingly, she's not a stripper today. Named Destiny. But it's these people shouldn't be sharing so much of their personal lives. Sneeko, Destiny, I mean, come on. That's what you do in a bedroom. And I understand they have a podcast that, they're supposed to be talking about stuff like this, but you got to draw a line somewhere. Especially if you don't want to become a lolcow. Especially if you don't want to lose your supporters. You have to be able to draw a line somewhere. So, with that, I think that's all I have on that.
Welcome. Hold on a second. Welcome back, Roger.
Oh, Roger, I wasn't disagreeing with you entirely, but I was just talking about. Oh, we lost.
Now he's gone again. Okay, well, she's got. I'm guessing he's dealing with technical difficulties.
Yeah, I was dealing with technical difficulties, but okay. Anyways.
All right. So anyway, let's move on to the next. This is the Disney section. Roger better hopefully get his stuff back together. But I mean, I got to cut. Oh yeah, welcome back, Roger. Technical difficulties or crazy old lady.
Yeah, like I told you guys before, I take care of my elderly mom and dad, and my elderly mother decided it was time to clean the freaking router.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, you guys can talk about all your frustrations with women that you want, but wait until they get old and senile. It gets even better.
Oh, well, I mean, my mother died back in 2021, and my dad died when I was 6 months old. I have a stepdad, but I can't stand the guy. So, I mean, on that end, I'm good. I'm very good. Okay, so let's get into the Disney section. Okay, well, first of all, and this is not so surprising. And when we do this spare parts episode here later on this week, we'll probably cover this in a lot more detail. The ending of the Acolyte was just an absolute hot mess. They inserted Yoda into it. They inserted Darth Plagueis into it.
Oh,
It
I
made
should probably leave. Spoiler alert! I should probably leave.
Okay, I'm not gonna give away too much. Not that you try.
Okay.
Not gonna give away too much here, but it was a hot mess. Um, absolutely again, right? This is what happens when you're supposedly making a movie to champion feminism and decide that the best way to do that is to hire Harvey Weinstein's personal fucking assistant to do it. Um, Hypocrisy on a lot of levels. And yeah, like let's just, and we'll probably do a lot more. I'll get into a lot more detail on this. Like when the Acolyte first came out, they literally tried to gaslight you into thinking that the viewership was higher than it was, including pay. I'm having to assume that they were paid shills going onto groups on Twitter and Facebook to like literally lie and had the the Hollywood media lie about the numbers, which they couldn't. And of course, they got absolutely destroyed. Then, of course, out came the insults, which, of course, never works and only surfaces to alienate fans. And then Amanda Stenberg, who obviously doesn't know that she was just put on the show as a prop, goes out and makes this atrocious music video and talks a big game. And then when she suddenly finds out that she's getting destroyed, she not only shuts down she privates her Twitter account, but then proceeds to go and get Disney to copyright strike anybody that posts up that video about her. Then they try to do some damage control. And what they do is they have her go on The View and everything. And like literally the mainstream media tries to pretend that everything that they're doing is working, except it's not. In the meantime, I think there's only one episode that was actually even remotely half decent. And the show is just horrible from start to finish. I'm not saying that every person is going to find it horrible, and I have zero intention of watching it. But most of the reviewers that I saw absolutely hated the hated the TV show. They threw somewhere between 180 to 200 million dollars gone. They got very little commercial revenue or viewership dollars back from the network for this. As V has told us a couple of times, there's like, I mean, even trying to pirate this particular show does not go well. Finding people who are even willing to pirate the show or trying to download it off a torrent site, are having difficulty finding people willing to post up everything about this online. And yeah, and I mean, like literally the day after, like the Monday after the last show went in, Disney apparently went down to Lucas Studios, and basically every writer and creative and any person who had any type of a creative decision about that movie just got their asses fired. Man, there's not going to be a season 2. There's absolutely not going to be a season 2. Amanda Stenberg will probably never work for Disney again. In fact, there's a very good chance that she's going to struggle to get any type of work inside the Hollywood industry, all because she made that video when she didn't actually consult anybody over at Lucasfilm before she's doing it. Kathleen Kennedy is losing her shit because apparently Kathleen Kennedy wants to stay on till 2027 to try to right the ship. And everything that she touches just turns to crap, like everything. And it's like the Acolyte did so much damage to the Star Wars brand that they lost 75% of their audience. It started it finally sucked in Dave Filoni. It is making even the original Star Wars and the Star Wars prequel trilogy, it's starting to stain those shows as well. It might even go over to the books if it continues. And Disney will not just, and instead of doing all that, and they go in and they fire a whole bunch of people as soon as the show's done, and they're still not, they're doing everything humanly possible to not get rid of Kathleen Kennedy. And Kathleen Kennedy is the problem. The entire leadership over at Lucasfilms was the problem. Kathleen Kennedy lied to George Lucas and said that she would honor the spirit of Star Wars and then proceeded to do anything but. And, you know, I'm not going to get into too much about it, but I mean, because V obviously really wants to watch it, and I truly feel sorry for you, but let me know, V, because I'm not watching that show, period. Yeah, you know, Disney just seems absolutely bound and determined to just run themselves right into the ground. And that gets me into, and again, once things start to go bad, and here's the thing, and I will get into this more when we do the spare parts episode. One of the things that happened with Disney, even back in the Will Eisner era, back when they were still doing those really good cartoon movies, like the original Lion King and Beauty and the Beast and all of those, and The Hunchback of Notre Dame and all of those movies, yeah, towards the end, they got a little bit formulaic. But I mean, you know, they were not bad movies. And they don't seem to be really like when they want to take, they don't seem to want to take chances. They just want to rehash everything that they've done before, which is what got them into trouble in the first place. The difference between what happened in the 80s with Disney and what's happening now is that at least back in the 80s when Disney was re-releasing all of their original classics, is that they didn't, and they tried making live action movies, is that at least they weren't woke. And there were actually a couple of decent, some of those live action movies they made were actually kind of decent. Like on the one with the cat that was an alien, I thought that one was pretty funny. And there's one called Oddballs in Space and whatever. And Return to Witch Mountain was also another fairly decent movie done by Disney back in the 80s. And you know, they just don't seem to want to get it. Now, when things go bad, they go really bad. First, you had the stuff with Acolyte. Then you had OMG doing an expose on the racist hiring policies. And then on top of the racist hiring policies, somebody inside OMG released a content trove to OMG, which exposed them with a incredibly not so secret LGBTQ agenda targeting children. Then there's another data hack that was done this week by Nullbulge. Now, Nullbulge, they're a bunch of leftists, and they actually went and actually exposed their undercover person because the guy got cold feet. But I mean, Nullbulge got a terabyte worth of data that could just be a few videos, or that could be a long, very long stream of unreleased text and conversations, which will get revealed over time. And it just gets worse because I mean, even before all this woke stuff, I mean, like I talked to some people back when I was actually still really seriously pursuing a film career, and like nobody that I know had anything good to say about Disney. And this was the 2000s. This is before the Bob Iger era. And, you know, I don't know how many more hits Disney can take, but I mean, of the big six studios in California, I think Disney, and this is ironic because Disney was the biggest of the big six at one point, and they still technically are. But I mean, I don't think Disney can afford to take many more hits like this and survive in their current form, right? I mean, it's like it. We could go on and on. I mean, the stockholders vote, where Bob Iger quite clearly lied to the stockholders and said we're done with woke, and like literally that very same day, the MCU releases a female version of the Silver Surfer. I mean, I could go on and on and on, and I probably will when we get to that special episode that we're gonna do. But I mean, you know, bottom line is that there was a hack done by Nullbulge, and at people are going to go through that with a fine tooth comb, and they are going to read everything, and they are going to find something. And Disney's reputation is going to take yet another hit on top of everything else that they're doing. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
All right. So, like with me, I mean, when it comes to all this stuff, it makes me think of the people who really should be discussed, like George Lucas. You know, for one thing, like what the hell was he thinking was the first thing that goes into my mind, and the second thing is what's his motives, because, or what was his motives when he sold it. You know, my whole opinion about people that I grew up believing were good people have changed. I was a real big Star Wars fan until, like I said before, whenever they came out with this new generation where it was Luke Skywalker and Han Solo's son and daughter, and from that point on, it was over for me. But you know, George Lucas is the one that I look at. It's just like with Marvel. You know, I with Stan Lee, man, I just now started realizing in my later years that Stan Lee wasn't really all that freaking great of a person like I thought back when I was reading comic books and really enjoying what he put out, because I found out that he was very political motivated. He actually started a fundraiser for Hillary Clinton when she was running for senator, and that fundraiser was illegal, and one of the guys who were involved with it actually had to do prison time because of the funds that were taking place, and Stan Lee was a part of it. And all it was basically was a fundraiser of all these rich people coming together and there being a performance, but they didn't do it legally, where freaking it was a good thing, and one of them ended up going to prison. He got out of prison and he ended up writing a book. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him, but that was when I first became familiar with Stan Lee and Hillary Clinton and their involvement with one another. Um, so that makes me stop and think about George Lucas and his involvement with politics as well as Walt Disney, because everybody knows Walt Disney's woke. They're probably the most extremist of the organizations out there. And I mentioned it before. I remember there was an incident where they said that chickenpox had appeared in Walt Disney World, and it came out and it didn't really go long. It just kind of vanished, you know. But chickenpox was supposed to have died down from back in the early 2000s until here recently. But that was the story, you know. But they were trying to make it out like, oh, the vaccine had freaking eradicated chickenpox. You know, 15-year stint with chickenpox doesn't mean that the freaking chickenpox has been eradicated. It just means that it hasn't been around, you know, if anybody knows anything about that stuff. And again, it takes me to other people like they've had, what's his name, plays freaking, he calls himself the boss. He's that musician. Uh, I was
Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce Springsteen, dude's freaking horrible. Okay, and I have no problem with saying that because Bruce Springsteen, I didn't even like his music when I was a kid. I like David Cougar or John Cougar. I like John Cougar, but I didn't like Bruce Springsteen at all. But he ended up being the same way. He's Mr. freaking woke liberal, just like, you know, he's the boss, all about, you know, the poor folk, you know, who's now talking woke garbage. They also have Stephen King. I'm amazed with Stephen King more than I am with all the other ones because they freaking attacked his Richard Bachman books, wanted to ban freaking Let's Get It On because it involved a school room where a kid was killing people and had a gun. And it was one of the more popular stories that he had in his book, other than Thinner and stuff like that. But, you know, people actually stood up and said, you know, this is wrong. It's censorship. You should leave it alone. But come to find out, freaking years later, after all this happens, he starts getting up and talking about all this liberal woke bullshit, you know. So I find that stuff kind of interesting. Like they purposely staged this so that they could draw publicity on what's going on, and like with these Democrats getting in trouble with sexual harassment, I seriously think that they're doing that too, especially with that Charlie Ray's, because he was on his way out getting ready to retire. He had nothing to lose. Like, he didn't have a reputation to worry about. So they started talking about him sexually harassing women so that freaking it could draw attention to sexual harassment, you know, and in the media and stuff. And he could just walk away without even having to worry about it because he was ready to retire anyhow. So I think stuff like this is taking place so that they can get publicity so that more people can hear about their crazy bullshit ideas. And Walt Disney World is a perfect way of doing that. You know what I mean? Put as much controversy as they can possibly put on Walt Disney World and Sony and all of these television stations or movies and stuff, so that they can get people either pissed off with them or cheering them on, and that's so that they can, you know, draw freaking money from it and be able to go further with it. You know, they did that shit back in the 70s with the NFL too, with the civil rights movements and shit. So that's all I really got on it.
And just when you're done, V drops. V, are you coming back on? V?
He's got a crazy woman at his house too. Crazy old lady messing with the internet.
Okay, well, we'll have him jump on here when he gets back on. In the meantime, we got to keep this show moving here. Now, this is a continuation of the first topic that we had. And that was because I was hearing story after story after story after story about how Joe Biden was going to get stepped down. And I mean, I saw a YouTube story, a couple of YouTube videos about how Barack Obama had pretty much, oh, there you are. Okay, then we will let V take this topic out. B, take the topic out.
Give him a second. He looks like he's unmuted. He just has to, but
Oh, he's left again. Okay, well, then we'll...
there he is.
Oh,
He's
no,
back.
there he is again. Okay.
All right. Anyway, sorry about that. I'm just fighting with this freaking computer. So I just cannot get the freaking microphone to work. Anyways, now I get the device to work. Hello? Mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2.
You're working. You're sounding just fine over
Sounding
here.
good.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you know what? I'm actually glad Disney got hacked. Not for the hack job in itself, but just for the information that came about. I don't care much for people being doxxed, especially people within the confines of a job, a corporation, because, that's the person's livelihood. I don't think Disney, well, we have been hearing about the pedophile rings and the crap movies and all that. They definitely deserve a hack if they have any information on child sex rings, most definitely. Other than that, the hack was unnecessary, but I'm glad it happened because I found this program. I found quite a few programs lately that I want to use. There's some hardcore production stuff. Extremely expensive programs, and I'm sorry, I just don't have the money to pay for these yearly subscriptions and things like that. So I find slightly altered versions of stuff, and yeah, I got Beam NG on one of my operating systems. It's like I'm constantly combing through, making sure I can see the changes in my computer because the feds have been hacking me for years. So I noticed it running in the task manager, Beam NG, and the thing is, I looked it up. I could not find any information on it whatsoever. My searches were rerouted before I can get to any real information. Websites broke that had any information about it. So it's kind of funny to see Mudahar a few weeks later coming out talking about this stuff, and he talks about Beam NG, which was used as a backdoor for hackers. Yeah, I had that on one of my operating systems. Thank God I followed my instinct and just got rid of the program that installed it. So, whew. I think I ended up eventually just deleting that operating system anyways and putting up a new one. So I'm constantly in the act of doing such things. So I keep coming back and forth in and out of the call. I want my microphone to work on my computer so I don't have to use my phone all the time. Especially since I'm going to be restarting my show. So I think I'm still getting the hacks currently. So I might have to get this professionally looked at. Maybe even a little forensics. But anyhow, I digress. Yes. The hacks, I mean, it's supposed to have actually, and I know I am Nullbulge. I'm probably one of their greatest enemies because I find alternative versions of stuff. I mean, if it weren't, it would be something if I could actually go and buy a product off the shelf I mean, I'm a target individual. Like I said, feds are all on top of any internet connection I have. They sabotage and alter programs that I use. Because like right now, me setting up my microphone, that's not a big deal. You know, that's something I could do in my sleep. But I can't get it to work right now. So if it weren't for those factors and the fact that people hack your bank accounts and all that stuff, if they had products on the shelves like in the old days, I would still buy stuff. But for the simple fact that I know that I put my credit card information online, I'm going to get hacked. For the simple fact that if I download any program, if I buy any program, it's going to be altered and not the genuine product that I bought anyways, because feds are hacking me. So I'd say screw it. I'm just going to get the stuff that's already altered, and at least I won't have to spend money on, you know, trying to deal with things. Yeah, I know I sound paranoid, but just to be able to stop me from doing certain things, I know I had some things going on. I was actually getting ready to leave the country to go to Poland. So this is like years and years ago. I go to the ATM and find out there's no money on my card. Oh, why? Why? How could that be? I call my bank. Oh, looks like you have charged from a Google Wallet account. Well, for one thing, I don't put my information online as far as any financial. I don't use my bank card to buy anything online. And I most certainly don't have a Google Wallet. I've never made a wallet with anybody online ever. So when you got, and the only people that are online that are worse than the hacktivists are the stupid feds, NSA, Cyber Command, whoever, who are not doing anything related to anti-terrorism, but they're social engineering and trying to control people. That's their whole MO. So yeah, I'm glad for hacks like this, because I don't know how the next time I'm gonna get hacked. I don't know what it's gonna do to me next time I get hacked. So it's good to be learning about these sort of things. I do have hacktivist friends that I've literally blown away with some of the stuff I've shown them, stuff that's happened to my systems with these damn feds. But yeah. Firing people. You know what? And just I'm gonna watch the Acolyte just so I can report back what I like, what I don't like, et cetera, et cetera. But I can tell you this: I would like to see Disney shut down for one reason alone. It's a pull for pedophiles. Okay, we've seen story after story after story after story after story of a pedophile ring connected to Disney. Disney does no longer needs to exist. They need to sell off their stuff to other companies and go the hell away. So with that, yeah, I'll pass it on.
Yeah, the ending for Disney is going to be it's going to be something about the end of Disney. They're going to be writing about what happened to Disney 500 years from now when it finally catches up to them, right? It'll be used as an example for companies centuries from now about what happens when you allow yourself to stray away from being a business and start venturing too much into politics and culture and stop being about entertainment and start being about the message. And again, right, as much as I would like to see Disney go down, the company that I would really like to see go down, the three that I would like to see down on Flames: BlackRock, Vanguard, and Fleet Street. Those three. Oh, and the one that's run by the by that family in Chicago. Who's that? The ones that are backing this current. I can't remember what the name of that.
Talking about the Crown family.
Yeah, the ones that are bad, the ones that have been artificially the Pritzkers, the ones run by the Pritzkers.
Oh yeah. He's a puppet of the Crowns. Don't just forget about them. Like he's the mouthpiece, and the Crowns give him the money.
Yeah, I don't know what the company that the Pritzkers run, but that one also I would love to see, because they're the ones that have been running this AstroTurf Trans campaign. They're the money behind that, and I'm surprised that nobody has really gone after them. Somebody is going to eventually really go after them, and it will probably happen in the next 4 years, regardless of whether Trump wins or not. At this point, he probably will win, but it's neither here nor there. But let's just get into this last topic, and I don't think we will be on this topic very long, because we talked about, because like I said, this is one of those really weird situations where I posted this topic up Saturday night, Sunday morning, and at the time, Biden had not announced that he was going to not accept the Democratic nomination. So now, instead of, and we will probably get a little bit more deep into this when we do the spare parts episode, which might even happen as early as tomorrow. It depends, tomorrow or Wednesday. There was a lot of talk in the main, like it was very, very clear after Trump destroyed Biden in that debate. And the more I keep thinking about that debate, as opposed to what happened in 2020, where Biden actually looked reasonably alert, it looks like they just literally sent him out there to fail, because they knew already at that point what was going on, and they needed him to fail so that they could move somebody else in. I don't know who they're going to move in now, because the assassination. And by the way, I totally forgot to mention this. Coincidence or no, Trump announces his VP candidate literally the day after the assassination attempt. And I'm going to bet you that J.D. Vance is probably even more firmly committed, unlike Kamala Harris, who was just there for a diversity hire, is absolutely and totally and firmly committed to following through on anything that Trump has got planned. So it's like, you're not going to, removing Trump is not going to derail things anymore. So, yeah. From the looks of things, it looks like the Democrat Party is a hot mess. There's no way, even if they do the ballot harvesting. By the way, the ballot harvesting won't be nearly as effective this time around, because the Republicans are going to be doing it too. So that counterbalance is what the Democrats are going to be doing. It's way too late to bring in the ballot boxes anymore, because there's going to be they won't be able to hype up the pandemic strategy anymore. And they have gone out and they have now done exactly what was kind of predicted was going to happen at the start of the year. They were going to try and get Trump out of the way, or prevent Trump from becoming office, in one of three ways. And we'll get more into that. get more into that, say, in a couple of days' time. But first, they were going to try and throw him in jail. That didn't work. Then they were going to try and assassinate him. That didn't work. They came freakishly close to having it work, but it didn't work. So the only other option they've got left to them is to, and this is part of the reason why Biden had to go, because in order to make it feasible, they would have to put somebody in place who was going to appear to be a strong presidential candidate who will be able to, quote unquote, manufacture the crisis. What they're going to try and do is they're going to try to create, there's going to be, I'm almost going out on a limb here, but all of the evidence, given the fact that I said that the other two have already failed, this is literally the only card they have left to play. And if you look at the border situation and all the military age mails that come across and the reports that we've seen about them fomenting racial unrest and getting support that even the citizens of the country are not getting, and of course rumors about terrorist involvement, which of course you wouldn't have known about unless you've been watching Redacted or some of the alt news channels, is that they're going to try to manufacture a terrorist event. And they're going to try to, it's going to have to be something huge, or it's going to have to happen in multiple places, and it's going to have to be big enough that either a war will start or they will have to declare some type of martial law, and they will try to ram through emergency legislation before the election. And so that means that they have got at most maybe 30 to 60 days in order to make this happen. Biden is just simply not mentally capable of handling such an event. So, and that was clearly demonstrated. And that's part of the reason why I suspect that he was allowed to go out there in that debate and fail so badly, because it was sending a message. It not only destroyed the Democrats' ability to win the election, but it demonstrated to people who wouldn't get it any other way that Biden was just not mentally capable of running a country like the United States. Not anymore. He might have been able to do it 20 years ago, but he's not able to do it now. And, and you have corporate supporters falling off the van. And it's like literally every single swing state now is in Trump's favor. In fact, some of them are not even really, like Nevada and Georgia, for instance, are not even really swing states anymore. They're effectively like not solid red, but like the same color as Florida and Texas. And, and instead you now have swing states like, Virginia and New Hampshire and Minnesota, and those are not really swing states, and New Mexico, and those are not really swing states, or they shouldn't be, at least on paper. So they've got one card left to play, and I think for all intents and purposes, like I said, when I posted this topic, Biden hadn't made his announcement yet. But yeah, is Biden going to get replaced? Well, the mainstream media was talking about it nonstop. So that suggests that, yeah, it was going to happen. They were just kind of like stringing us along. And, I had a lot more to say on this, but we covered a lot of this with topic 0. So I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
Yeah, I just seen that too. It looks like, I guess, the president stepped aside on the as presidential nomination, but then he also gave or endorsed Harrison. So that sounds like, yeah, okay, she's going to be running for president, but you also have to take into consideration that these political parties have a process. So even before, like, even though he gave his nomination, it doesn't mean necessarily that she's going to be the one running on the Democratic ticket, because that's where it's determined in their convention, which is supposed to be coming up here before long. So there's also a couple of guys. There's even one that I read here just a little while ago that says he's possibly, or he's thinking about joining back up with the Democratic Party, and so that he could have a chance of running as the candidate for Democrats. So this is going to get even more intense as the days go by. And from where I'm seeing it, there's a good chance that they're probably going to have to reschedule the Democratic convention, because I don't see them being able to organize quick enough within the time period, because I believe it's only going to be like a week away or so before they actually have their convention and announce who their choice is going to be. Not unless this is like we've talked about this being already staged and advanced. Now, I personally can see this as being like a Democrat trick to try to get a female into office, because that's one thing they wanted to do, and they weren't able to get a woman into office before the first black president, which that's debatable too. Even black people are saying that Obama wasn't really black. He was like admix, you know. But that really frustrated him, and I think that the last elections Hillary Clinton had against Donald Trump, that was a big old letdown too, because like they had the glass ceiling, you know, where freaking it was gonna shatter when she's made president, and they weren't able to do it in New York. All those poor little Democrats were sitting outside crying and just feeling all bad for himself. I had this like warm fuzzy feeling, because like all these liberal Democrats were out crying their eyes out. It made me feel real good. There's just no better feeling than to see a bunch of crying Democrats in the streets of New York City. It just, something right there made me feel great. Now, whenever it comes to this thing with Harris, though, it reminds me of when what was his name? It was President Ford came into office. He was probably the only man who actually made it into office without being voted in. And this is going to take a vote, don't get me wrong, but it runs along the similar lines. And I've already said that for me, I have different takes on this whole situation, but I do think that there is a chance that Biden's going to see prison time. I also think I can pretty much tell you his son's he's going to prison. It's just a matter of if his dad goes with him or not. The best bet for him is when he leaves office, he needs to make sure he pardons his son and pardons himself before he leaves office, so that when Donald Trump gets into office, he can pardon himself and everybody else that's involved with his mess. So what we're going to have is a president with a 4-year term leaving office and pardoning himself, and then another one who had a 4-year term coming into office again and pardoning himself as soon as he gets into office. So this is what United States politics has come to, you know. I think that we're about to see some things that are monumental that has never happened in American politics. As a matter of fact, in world politics, I don't think anybody's had stuff like this take place. Not since the development of the television and the radio, at least. So I'd say keep your eyes open, because this is going to get good. This is almost as good as an American soap opera. So with that, I'll pass.
Oh man, I wish Biden would go to jail. I don't see it happening. Well, I mean, that's something that everybody says. Well, when this person gets out of office, they're going to jail. I haven't even seen Trump put Hillary Clinton in jail. He was supposed to have done that when he got into office. I wish these people would go to jail. For you know, we as a society, we have to put up with so much crap that they don't. I mean, how many people have gotten a job and then fired 2 weeks later because they're not doing the job right, right? So why shouldn't that apply to these politicians? They get in the office, they get nice and comfortable, they start playing with people's money. They stop doing their job 2 years into their term. They spend the next 2 years campaigning for their next bigger job. So we should be able to set marks, goals. This politician's talking all this noise about what he can do. Okay, here's your time frame. Here's the syllabus you set for yourself. Here are the dates. Don't get it done, you're out. Until we do that, the political system is not going to improve. It will not improve. There needs to be caps on how much money a person has when they enter into office and when they exit office. Things won't change until we do that. Yeah, I mean, come on. If I were Trump, oh man, I'd be so angry that Biden dropped out. Because it's going to beat him fair and square. Now, Trump's legacy is tarnished because he's going to triumph over a black woman. Yes, that glass ceiling Roger just spoke about. Yeah, oh no, it's still intact, and it's Trump's fault. They're going to do everything in the world to demonize this man. As I said at the beginning of the show, they're going to sling mud at him, mud and crap at him, as their as their ship is sinking. That's the pettiness of it all. That's how petty these politicians are. That's how petty the government is. CIA sends an assassin to kill you. Democratic Party throws their worst person at you to compete with because they're withdrawing. Yeah, soap opera. Yeah, you got it right, Roger. Soap opera. These are the worst sorry excuses for human beings I've ever seen in my life. You could time travel and talk to younger me, child me, and I would say before school, and describe the kind of people who are in power. I would tell you stop watching cartoons. But it's real. The scumbags at the top of every intel agencies, the scumbags at the top of every it's just so I just don't know why as a people we just cannot fix these problems. Yes, we've been divided and conquered and everybody is acting of their own accord and not really pitching into society because they're slaves. They're getting half their checks taken, living from check to check with a future uncertain. It's all because of these a-holes. These kind of people who want to dirty up Trump. I mean, what else does the guy have to go through and still beat you? Assassination attempt, sexual assault allegations, accusations of misappropriation of funds, accusations of selling secrets to Russia, accusation after accusation, and just wall of crap after wall of crap. I've never seen a president or a president candidate go through so much hell. And as corrupt as these people are, especially within the Democratic Party, these people, they shake hands. They're all corrupt. Yeah, but Trump couldn't put Hillary in jail because, behind the scenes, they're all on the same team. However, when one of them goes rogue, it's time to, that assassination attempt, the story, I couldn't have written it better myself. I couldn't have written this better myself. With all these, every obstacle they put in front of him was bigger than the last. Bigger. The biggest is surviving an assassination, right? So the game's up. Okay, sure. Biden drop out. Let's put somebody in your place who's never going to win anyways. Save your reputation, save face. But I just hate this. I really hate this because feminists are going to go freaking crazy. More reason to hate Trump. He blocked a black woman from becoming president. As if enough wild leftists weren't stirred up about this whole thing already. The libtards. It's oh my God. It really gets to me just knowing the level of scumbaggery. Because these people are psychopaths. Let's face it. They were denied whatever growing up, abused. They become sociopaths. Oh, they have to gain power so they can shut off their vengeance to society. Become a politician. Or become some military official. Or some wannabe spy agent. Wannabe James Bond or something. Because they happen to be just slightly smarter than your average police officer. Just slightly. Yeah. Oh. Yes, the whole world has to pay for that. And that saying, some people just want to see the world burn. If they can't save face, I can actually picture in my head Biden giving a congratulation cake to Trump and sticking his hand in it. Like the scene from Scary Movie, that the butler with the little hand, it just open your cake, and try to enjoy that, licking on his fingers, because that's effectively what just happened. These people are supposed to be upholding society, having a just society, but yet they act like little prepubescent girls with these little mind games. None of these people have their man cards. None of them. Yeah. Pond scum. Pond scum. Floats to the top of the water and kills everything underneath it, choking out the light. Choking it and eating up all the nutrients. Everything underneath it dies. Pond scum. I can rant forever. I'm getting mad. I'm just getting so mad right now. Let's move on.
Calm down, B. Calm down.
I'm so mad. All right, you guys take it away.
All right, so yeah, either one. Well, actually, we could do it Tuesday during the day too. I'm gonna finish watching this Quiet on Set stuff tonight before I go to bed, and we'll set something up. I've got until at least Tuesday morning before I have to potentially either fly out. If I'm taking the bus out, then I've got. Well, I would rather not have to be up till 1 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday night, especially got to take the bus at 6 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. But we've got the day on Tuesday to get stuff done. So we've got a 9-day window to get this spare parts episode done. I will be in touch with you guys, but that is it for tonight. I wish you all a safe good night, and I will see all of you on the next one.
Later.
Oh, yes.
All right,
one
thanks,
other thing.
guys.
Yeah, and just a quick message here. I am at Patreon as Naroki5. YouTube, Odyssey, BitChute, Rumble, MGTOW TV, Brighteon, Facebook, Mindsgab, MeWe, Getter, and